Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. My name is Ace and I got more Guild Wars 2 content. As you can see, this is my very much almost naked Norn, and I'll be showing you guys all the weapons that you can acquire by doing all the dungeon, of course, and then spending the trophies that you can earn within these dungeons for the dungeon gear. This is all end game exotic weaponry, and if you are looking forward to a specific set from a specific dungeon, or at least the specific weapons from a specific dungeon, I do recommend to go into the description box for the time codes, and you can then find the dungeon that you are looking for. Without further ado, let's just go into the first dungeon, which is Escalonian Catacombs. And if you are wondering why the hell I am naked, it's because with my current gear that I do have, certain weapons clip, and I want to of course show you guys the weapons, how they look, and if they clip, you can't see them. Hence, I am pretty much in my underwear. This is the axe. And the Escalonian Catacombs is most likely the armor as well as the weapon set that is the most tame, I find. This is not necessarily a bad thing, because it does give you that entirely traditional look of weaponry that you would expect from from humans, if you like. The focus on the other hand is pretty cool, I have to say. Greatsword is of course a
what do you need?
Pretty decent greatsword as well. And of course I am on a Norn, so everything does look significantly bigger. Like most of the weapons that I will be showing you guys are bigger than the biggest size Azura. So expect to see some crazy things. As you can see, certain things will not even be fully shown. But nonetheless, they look kind of cool. Longbow is indeed a very long bow. And it does have the same theme. Like they don't go overboard with the spikes like other races do prefer, like for example the Char.
So, what brings you
but then again, the Escalonian Catacombs is modeled after a human, at least is modeled with a human in mind, I find. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the vibe that I'm getting from all the gear, including the armor as well. This is the rifle, by the way. Doing some scepter work. This I thought initially that this was a mace, but it appears to be a scepter. Some shield. Actually looks like a good shield compared to some shields I've seen. The short bow, definitely a lot shorter than of course the long bow. Spear gun, which of course is one of the better underwater weapons for the classes that can wear it. Let's see, staff. Once again, if you tell me it's a giant mace, I would still believe you.
No free samples.
And of course the sword, which is actually rather big, considering it's a one-handed sword. Then again, I am a Norn, but as you can see, it goes below my feet, so expect it to be clipping with the ground. Some torches.
Need something.
Of course, the torch is not on right now, but I suppose that speaks for itself. The trident. Let's see, and of course, last but not least, the warhorn. Now you can see more weapons here, but they are basically all the same model-wise and stat-wise. At least they have the same amount of stats. It's just that they have different type of stats. Like for example, this one has precision, vitality and healing power. And as you can see, it looks exactly the same. Where of course the greatsword here has power, toughness and vitality. And once again, it looks exactly the same. So these are the weapons that you can find by at least acquire by doing Escalonian Catacombs. So let's go to the Catacus Estate, which is basically, in my opinion, still modeled after the humans. Hence, of course, the human vendor, I suppose, as well. But it's a little less tame, and I do prefer this set personally. But again, that is opinion based. As you can, this is the axe, and it directly starts off a little bit more, I suppose, a little bit more exciting and a little less traditional. We are playing a fantasy MMO, of course, so it's always nice to see weapons that are not the weapons you would expect in real life, if you understand what I mean with that. That's the dagger. This is the focus, which actually looks like a lantern, which is kind of a cool idea. Greatsword. I do like this greatsword. This is one of the greatswords that I just find to be simple yet elegant in a way. So if I were to play human, I would probably prefer this greatsword if I was looking for a small greatsword. But I prefer my greatswords to be rather big because they are greatswords, and you will definitely see my favorite greatsword coming up soon. Of course, this is the hammer, which is
I carry only the highest
two-handed.
quality goods.
And it doesn't really look too powerful. It looks kind of big for an, kind of small for a hammer, but that might just be me. Harpoon, which is of course I can't even show you guys the pointy thing, which is unfortunate because that's how big it is. Longbow, of course. This is basically modeled after the sap gear, if I pronounced it correctly. The human guards. That's the type of gear they walk around with. Showing the mace. If you tell me this would be a axe, I would still believe you. Working the pistol, of course. Like, I do like that all the range weapons have like a blade attached to it, because certain weapons do have a melee attack on ranged weapons. So it kind of makes sense as well that they have a blade or something pointy attached to it, so you can pretend you're doing damage with that. Scepter.
I pray to the spirits, but they rarely answer.
Like, this entire set has the wing model after it, of course, which is kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie. Especially when you're playing a guardian, of course, having the wings and protecting the innocent kind of thing. It's a nice theme to go with. So we were with the short bow. Spear gun.
I know your face from my dream.
Pretty much looks like the rifle, if I'm not believe. It's the same model as the rifle, in fact, which is
I offer the best prices around.
disappointing. But there you go. Golden staff. Let's see the sword. Well, it's basically just the a smaller version of the great sword, of course. This doesn't clip with the ground, as you can clearly tell. Golden torch. Once again, the torch is off, of course, but imagine just flame coming out of it, or fire coming out of it. Trident, which is the same as the staff. Once again, slightly unfortunate. Warhorn. And that's pretty much it. Once again, all these models are the same. It's just that the amount of stats are all the amount of stats are also the same. It's just that the kind of stats are a bit different, so you can min-max regarding your playstyle and of course your character. So going to Twilight Arbor, the Sylvari stuff. Now this kind of gets insane, so get ready, because this is all the plant-like stuff. And you can definitely see that there is some Twilight theme going on, because of course you're fighting, or Twilight the Nightmare theme going on, because you're fighting Nightmare Sylvari in that specific dungeon. So it has that pink vibe going on. Now, I'm not a big fan of the pink and the purple personally, so which is why you won't see me enjoying a Mesmer, for example, all that much.
No free samples.
Unless I'm messing about, but I can definitely tell that this is something unique. It's
everything you need right here.
if you look at all the weapons in Guild Wars 2 or even the armor pieces, I find that the Nightmare, this is the greatsword by the way, all the Nightmare stuff is the most insane stuff when it comes down to models. This is the two-handed hammer, of course, harpoon. Because it's one of those armor sets that is just overly done with the plant stuff and the spikes and the just the overall craziness, I find. And I do find it ironic that you're fighting the Nightmare people, but then you're still stealing their stuff and then using it for your own benefit. So there you go. Did I get the harpoon? Yes, I get the harpoon. The mace. Well, this definitely looks like something you don't want to have against your head.
You've got gold, right?
Pistol. Like, there's like these spikes everywhere. I suppose they are thorns in this case, but I'm calling them spikes. And I don't know, like, I personally don't enjoy the amount of spikes that is currently available on this set. But I can definitely see where other people really do like it, especially if you are looking at the armor and there's a lot of spikes going on.
You break it, I break it.
Did I get the scepter? Yeah, I got the scepter. You can definitely recolor it and make it look like metal spikes if you like. So I guess there's definitely some breathing room with how you can make it look. Because that's the scepter. Going to the shield. This is a very good example where craziness just sets in. Short bow. Preview.
Interested in something specific?
And moving on to, of course, the spear gun, which is the same model as the rifle by the looks of it. Just checking, make sure. Yeah, it's the same model. Just different icon. I suppose that's a latent fix or something that should still fix. But I'm rather disappointed that these models are the same for different type of weapons. I suppose it comes down to the same-ish type of weapon because they're still ranged attacks and such. But a bit unfortunate, I find. This is, of course, the staff. Moving on to the sword. It actually looks kind of cool. Like it looks like the root is starting to cover the blade. So that's kind of cool, I have to admit. Torch. So you're having a plant that's on fire if it's on. So that's the thing. Then again, so fire don't burn alive when I use fire anyway. So magic. Of course, this is the trident. And finishing up with the warhorn. So it's if you are looking for spiky stuff, then Twilight, or at least Twilight Arbor is your dungeon to go to because the nightmare stuff is kind of ridiculous. Moving on to, of course, the well, Sorrow's Embrace, and this is, I call it the dredge gear, with very good reason. But as you can see, this is like very bulky stuff. Like even their gear makes you look like a bloody robot, and the weapons they just are the cherry on top of it. Initially, it gives you the entire the Azure look that you can find in the cultural weaponry as well. But this is the dark Azure stuff, so it has the different coloring. The other one has bluish, and of course this one apparently has the red color going on. So it's actually pretty much the same, it's just a recolor, now that I take a good look at it, which is disappointing as hell. I like to see different models, especially when you are doing endgame dungeon gear. I would like to have awesome gear that looks unique. I don't want to have a cheesy recolor. I might be alone on this one, and I understand that modeling new weapons does take time, especially when you have to scale them for different races and make sure they don't clip too excessively and things like that. But just a simple recolor for an entire weapon dungeon set? Maybe they will change it, because they do seem to be placeholders right now, as you can see. But it seems like a cop-out. I feel like it's a cop-out. Then again, I don't really play this dungeon myself as well. I'm more focused on the Kodan, which you will see soon enough why I am focused on that one, especially as a Norn. But I have to say, it's unfortunate. For the weaponry then, the gear itself looks kind of cool if you want to be a robot, but that's pretty much where it stays. Spear gun.
You buying something?
Staff. So it's basically like truly the same to the Azura cultural weaponry, I believe it's called. So if you are going for, if you prefer the red color over the blue, enough to farm the dungeon to get all the marks that you require for these weapons that you might need, then go for it. This clips a little bit, I think, with the ground. Just a little bit. If you're not using it. Spear gun, once again, just looks like the staff. Or did I just equip the staff? Yeah, sorry. I accidentally equipped the staff, but that's the spear gun. That's the staff, that's the sword. That's the torch. That's the trident, which you actually can't see because it's too big on my bulky Norn. I'm actually the smallest size Norn, so imagine if I were to be bigger, the weapons would be even bigger. A warhorn to finish it off, which is more of a sonic boom weapon if you look at it, but there you go. And once again, all these weapons are pretty much the same model, it's just different stats, but still the same amount of stats.
Need something.
So you can min-max properly.
Farewell.
Now this is the flame, Citadel Flame, which is of course the char environment, and you can definitely tell that these guys are inspired by the char, not only because it's a char vendor, but just the way the weapons are made. Like, they're very rough, they're very yeah, they're not really refined, if you like. They're just we're gonna place this chunky piece of metal on this stick and we're gonna hurt you with it. As you can see, like, they don't even bother like properly melting it together. No, we're gonna use chains to keep it together, which kind of it gives an awesome look. I'm not saying I don't like it. Absolutely not. I'm actually kind of a big fan of it. Let's see, focus. As you can see, there's like proper
gold, right?
particle effects going on as well. Big greatsword. Unfortunately, I don't like the spikes that are after the blade. I don't know, I like to have a certain refined type of weapon going on for myself. Especially when I'm playing a guardian, of course. I don't want to be looking like a warrior if I'm trying to protect people. Does that make sense?
Excelsior.
I might just have these stereotypes in my head for myself, but I find that the Citadel of Flame gear looks more like gear I would wear if I was going to be an aggressive warrior. I hope that makes sense. If you don't understand what I mean, then I apologize. If you do understand what I mean, then I'll take off my hat for you if I had one, but unfortunately I do not. Longbow looks kind of awesome, because it looks like it's one giant blade, so you don't want to mess with that. Mace. Like, maces and scepters always look alike, I find. Alike, not the same, alike. Pokey pistol.
Need something.
Pokey rifle. As you can see, the chart definitely has more stabby things going on than ranged weapons. And also a lot of particle effects going on in these weapons, which is something you may enjoy. Shield.
Spirits of the wild.
Kind of awesome. Yeah, it's kind of an awesome. It looks like a giant blade piece that they just ripped off and just made a shield out of, which is kind of cool. And once again, all the particle effects that are constantly going on. This actually looks like epic gear that you would get from a dungeon after running it and farming it for a while. This feels like there's put some effort into it in a certain sense. I might just be prejudiced because of the particle effects, because particle effects usually mean epic stuff initially, until it becomes overdone. That's the staff. Sword. I suppose the metal looks like a frozen flame. Does that make sense? It looks like if you take a screenshot of a flame and you just make it and you forge that what you have there into a metal piece, it would look like this. Or into a piece of metal, it would like, yeah, it would look like something that we've got here.
This is a bad
Torch.
time to be traveling.
So even though you can see the inside being warm, I suppose that's just the texture. Imagine fire to finish that off.
You've got
Trident.
gold, right?
Giant pokey thing, which is of course what a trident is.
Seek, and you shall
Warhorn.
find.
And this is pretty much it then. As you can see, all the
Buying
stuff is
something.
basically still the same model, it's just different stats. But it's the same amount of stats. Moving on to my personal favorite, which are the Kodan, which of course is the honor of the waves. And these weapons are basically made out of ice. Now, I like ice myself, it's something I do enjoy, but not only does it have the refined metal thing going on, it also has a certain flair with the ice.
Melissa
And I really enjoy the Kodan gear. That's the axe, this is the dagger. And I can understand why it may look a little bit simple. Because basically what you have is you have a metal base with a piece of ice on it. But I have to say that I really enjoy the way it looks. And it does reflect with the light as well, which is kind of cool. And this is my favorite greatsword.
I have everything you need.
Look at it, it's just amazing. This is me, this is downsized because it's on my back. But imagine if a big Norn is wielding this weapon when it's properly sized for battle. Because if you
You've got
switch your
gold,
weapons
right?
onto your back, you can see them drop in size. So this weapon is going to be bloody huge once I get it. The hammer, same thing. You don't want to get that against you. Giant piece of ice on top of your head? No, not a good thing. And I suppose the Kodans, of course, are really big people, so they have really big items. And of course, being a Norn, I suppose I fit within the category of really big people. So it does fit my character just a bit more. And especially because I do like ice and such, Like my favorite color is of course blue, and I do like the entire ice theme as well. This is probably the weapon set for me, or the gear set, or the dungeon that I really have to farm hardcore to get whatever I want for my guardian, which I'm doing. See, that's the rifle. This is the scepter. But I can definitely understand that this may be a bit too easy, if you understand what I mean, because you just have a big piece of metal, and then they add some ice on it, and you're good to go. This is the shield, by the way, if you haven't seen that one. Short bow. But just look, I want to zoom in on it, man. It looks really refined, and it's because they have a good metal model, and they add ice over it, so it adds another layer of
welcome guest.
awesomeness, if you like. And as you can see, sometimes they just model the ice as well into an image as well. So yeah, I'm really digging it. I am biased towards the Coden set, if you haven't noticed it yet. It looks pretty awesome. I am happy that they have implemented something like this. The sword also looks kind of cool. Like, it doesn't, even though it's a Coden sword, it doesn't clip with the ground like the Escalonian sword does. Still, and it still looks pretty broad. It looks like a broadsword. I'm always a big fan of broadswords when it comes to one-handed swords. A torch. Brilliant move on their side as well. They haven't put any ice on top of the fire, at least on top of the torch where the fire comes from. Which is very smart. Trident. Big pokey thing with ice on it.
Seek, and you shall find.
But actually it makes it look like it's a mouth with teeth. If you can see that. Which is kind of cool. And of course, last but not least, the war horn. Now this is a bit too easy, I suppose. Then again, I don't really use war horns myself, so I don't really have much of an issue. And once again, models do stay the same, it's just that the stats are a bit different. The same amount of stats, it's just, for example, one has power, the other one has precision or healing power.
You need right here.
Now this is of course the Crucible of Eternity.
Your face from my dream.
And this is the Inquest stuff. Which once again intrigues me, because we hate the Inquest, right? Why are we going to use their weapon stuff for our benefit? Shouldn't we like melting it down or steal their stuff, I suppose, and then use it for our own weapons? But there you go. And this definitely doesn't really look like the Azura stuff. This looks more evil, I suppose. Having that entire the red vibe going on. This just looks like a giant key, which probably is the point. Greatsword. Like, it's a very refined, very slick, I suppose is the word I'm looking for, weapon set. And of course the electricity, it adds another detail of awesome to it. It's just that I don't like armors that are too slick. Like, I want to have I want it to be a sophisticated badass, I suppose. Let's see. But I'm already happy enough that this is just not a recolor of the Azura gear, considering the Inquest and the Azura go hand in hand if you have played an Azura. Harpoon, longbow. Well, they don't really go hand in hand friendly, but you get the point. This is a very interesting longbow model. I'm liking it. Inquest mace. Even though the models have the Azura icons, it doesn't look alike, which is kind of cool. And all of them have particle effects by the looks of it, even the pistols, is that right? Yeah, there's a bit of going on there on the other side. So once again, this does feel like you're having, you know, gear that you have worked for, and it actually shows something back for it as well. In the sense that it's just gear, that's good looking gear that has particle effects. Because if you're just going to pick up gear when you are leveling up, you're not going to find gear with particle effects, or you have to be extremely lucky. I suppose there are a few pieces that do have particle effects, don't quote me on that. This is the scepter, by the way, with the floaty things. Shield. Even the shield looks different than the Azura. Pretty nice with that. It's a bit boring, I suppose, the shield, but it does a good job, let me put it that way. Short bow, basically a shorter version of the longbow, literally. Spear gun. Giant blade attached to it, because you need to poke some things when they get close. Staff.
Seize the
Staff is
moment.
also different, which is quite of a nice surprise. Like I'm still a bit put off by the fact that the icons are the same, but I suppose those are minor complaints, and I'm really happy that the models are taken care of. This is the minus sword, of course, just a smaller version of the great sword. It actually looks like a dagger, like a big dagger. Torch. Once again, imagine the fire coming out of it. Trident. Let's see, and of course the war horn. So it looks kind of awesome, like,
Your face from my
even though it's not a weapon set I would wear for cosmetic purposes myself, I can definitely see it being a good armor set for people that do enjoy it. I'm just not the type of person that really likes that slick thing. I do want a certain amount of roughness on my gear. Like for the codex, it's absolutely not modeled well. At least it's modeled well. It's not that it's extremely refined, if you know what I mean. It's not like that they were shaving the eyes into a perfect model,
I pray to the spirits,
which
but they rarely answer.
gives it a certain personality that feels more like me, I suppose. Does that make sense? I don't know how to explain these things, but I just like how it looks. And last but not least, as you can see,
Samples.
the Arad dungeon, which is the last dungeon. And it's a rough one, it's a long one, so... Nope, that's the armor.
Spirits of the wild.
We want to see the
welcome.
weapons. And this is all in the undead type of theme. So if you want to look like an undead badass, you definitely want to go with weapons like these. Because as you can see,
Good hunting.
even though they have a blue vibe going on, and blue is my favorite color, if I see somebody with weapons like these against me, I might be a little bit scared.
You'll find everything you need here.
Because they don't look like traditional weapons. They look like weapons for the undead. If you have played an ore, you will understand that this color code means undead, means evil stuff. So if you're walking around with weapons like, wow, this actually looks kind of cool. With weapons like these, you are going to be afraid. As you can see, it's undead dragon type stuff, as it's called, the Dragon's Deep. Kinda cool. Hammer of Dragon's Deep. So as you can see, it looks like it's underwater meets dragon.
All prices are non-negotiable.
Because of course ore used to be underwater, so
You've got
until it
gold, right?
came up. That's a one hell of an harpoon. Longbow. Particle effects once again. Always good to see. That's the mace.
May the stars
Pistol. Yeah, you can definitely see it's a dangerous weapon set. I'm a bit yeah, I don't know, maybe just me, but I feel it's too much of one color. I don't know, it has, I can see 2 or 3 clear different colors.
May the six watch over you.
And the other ones are just a tone, a slight tone different, but then again, if you are going to be undead, you're not really are going to bother with a lot of, well, color coding, I suppose. As you can see, there's an evil smile on this scepter, as you can see right there. I had to take a second look to it, but apparently some of your weapons smile. So, oh, well, I guess this kind of explains that.
fine.
Looks like a dragon face to me. So if you prefer the dragon stuff, you definitely want to go to Ara if you're level 80-ish. Because I believe that Ara is level 80, I find. From the top of my head.
What do you need?
So undead dragons, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Because of course the ore and the entire Zayton storyline is an undead dragon. So it really shows in their gears. So the people who modeled this specific weapon set and the armor set really did a good job sending that message in the gear itself. Love this sword, by the way.
No free samples.
I would prefer to recolor something if I could. Unfortunately, you can't recolor weapons. Nonetheless, the model itself looks pretty badass. Is that a torch? Yeah.
Need something.
Once again, imagine the fire coming out of it. Trident. Once again, it smiles in your face. And of course, last but not least, the Warhorn, which is just a giant gaping mouth that says something like hello. And all the models are the same, it's just that the stats are a bit different. So
Dismissed.
let me know what your favorite weapon set is. Mine, as you clearly should know by now, is the Codans for my Guardian. But I do find that I would probably go with something else if I were a different race. And of course a different class. Now the best part of Guild Wars 2 is of course that you can transmute the look of your items if you have a good piece of gear that has the perfect stats. You just don't like the model, you can just recolor it, or of course transmute it with the transmutation stones. Regardless of gear or weapons, you can do both. So let me know what you think, and if you have any other requests to what you want to see, let me know, and I will catch you guys next time. Take care.